There's some certain things that you're going to need, and that is the coolant is going to be drained into a tub, and the tub must be able to fit under the slingshot. It's preferable, it's like this one's about 4 inches tall and should hold all the coolant that comes out of the slingshot. And we're going to put the coolant back into the slingshot because there's nothing wrong with it as long as it's under 5 years old. And I did get the proper coolant that in case something goes wrong and I need more coolant, such as spillage or what have you, this is what you need. Dex Cool and 50/50 premix is the only thing that you want to get for this. Is a simple siphon hose. It's going to be hard to pour the fluid out of there, so we're going to see if we can't pump this into the system. There's no drain plug on the radiator like you're used to with cars and so forth. It's a totally closed system with only one place. That's the recovery reservoir that you can put coolant into. So we're going to have to go through a drain procedure, and we will show you that. Precautions you got to take care of as we go along and start filling the slingshot up with coolant. Air can get trapped in the system since it's a closed system, so we have a technique of purging the system. So I want you to go into this with an idea that it's not a matter of draining it out and just pouring the fluid back in the reservoir. You're going to have to take some special steps, and I'm going to cover all of those. So it's, I think it's within your range of being able to do if you simply watch what I'm doing, and I think we can all get this accomplished. So the first thing I got to do is we've got to drain the system of coolant. Get you a big enough pliers and adjust them to where you can squeeze this enough way and slide that down. That slid down, but that's okay. I've got my tub underneath here and centered so that I can drain down. And you just pull up on this, get your hands down in here and pull up on the bottom a little bit at a time till you can get her to come loose. Wiggle. You have to take and loosen the cap on the reservoir to take the seal off, and let's see what we got. You see it comes out of there also, so I'm opening it a little bit at a time. Let her drain out. I pull my tub up, the front part of this hose off that I am still draining into the bucket. So there. Okay, now there, you have to twist those out of there. Now I should be able to grab the hose and pull on it. There. Okay, so that's the lower hose. That's where most of the coolant is going to come out of. So with the arrow going toward the hose, I'll just put the hose down in there. Well, actually I got to prime it, so I put that hose in there, and we got to prime this. So the way I do it with the arrow, I put this, I squeeze this, then I hold this, and you see, and then I squeeze it again, and squeeze until I got it to where I can pop this in right down there, and we're going to hold it and there's the antifreeze going in. We don't want to overfill it, but we're filling the radiator is what we're doing. You can kind of hear the radiator filling up. Now I'm going to hold a towel under here, and when it does, I'm going to pull this end out, and I can put my finger over the end of this hose if it starts getting too full. Now I can see it at the top. I can see it at the top. It's right about there. Just put this back in there. I'm going to put this back on here, but make sure you have this and get it correct like this. Whoop. Let's see, I'm going to do it like that. Yeah. There. So we've got as much antifreeze as we can get into the system at this point. Now what we've got to do is fill up the reservoir and get the top of the engine purged of air. And this is where the air is going to escape from. And we're going to keep blowing air or putting pressure on the fluid until we have fluid coming out of here. Just wrap a towel around here like this. This might be the easiest, so that it catches the fluid that might come out like that. Okay. And we're just going to get it to where we get fluid coming out of the top of there. And I'll show you how we do that. We take this out, and I put me some more fluid in there until it's to the cold level. Alrighty, and we put this over here to the side. Okay, now we need to purge the system of air. And what's going to happen is we're going to blow on this end, which is the part that went there, and we're going to hold our finger over the overflow, which is going to allow us to put pressure on the canister. But you want to make sure the canister is up to a good level before you do this. So I open it up, sit this down a little low, and I'm not going to fill it to the highest level. I'm going to get it up halfway, and I squeeze, because we're filling the top of the engine with fluid and pushing the air out. Tap on tight, because this is going to be pressurized. You're simulating pressure to get this air out. It should be nice and tight. Okay, now with the overflow, the little part that goes here is what you're going to blow on. You'll hear gurgling sounds coming from the engine, and then finally you'll see fluid spurt up through here. That's what we're looking for. Once you see fluid, then we're going to stick this on there and we are purged. All the air is out of the system. This is super important now. Okay. Notice got my thumb over the overflow. This is the top hose, and this is the hose that goes there. This is the one I blow on. Now listen and watch for that to squirt up. I want you to see it. I can clean it off. Okay, I'm going to blow lightly. There we go. Okay, and I put that on there. Now, we know we have to put 2 clamps on there and some tie wraps around. So I'm going to pull this over, and then I'm going to tighten this down so we keep our cylinders or everything. There we go, and then I'll put my clamps there. Okay, we're going to do that, and then I'll button her up. Now remember how these went. The flat part is on top. So I've got this loose so that I can tie all of this back up with the stuff we need. And also I need to mount these bolts in there. Now first I get them kind of close, so I'll put another tie wrap through here, and I'm gonna put a little more, actually I'm gonna leave this alone until I crank up the engine and make sure that everything is not leaking. See, there's where we are, there's the full line, but right there is just fine for right now. We're going to crank her up and get her up to operating temperature and test out all of the connections and make sure that we don't have any leaks. And if we start losing fluid, then that means it's displacing it in spots that need it, so we'll adjust accordingly. But we don't add any fluid until it's cold, so we watch for that. Everything is buttoned up, and now what you do is run the engine, and if there's any leaks or anything like that, you'll start using fluid. If the fluid goes down and you don't see anything, you've got a high pressure leak somewhere. So just watch that. While you drive it, make sure you check your antifreeze, look for any spots of antifreeze, and go around and look at all the hoses, all the connections, to be sure you got everything tight enough. And it should be a job well done.